Musings of an Ikigai Scholar. The Joy of Learning and Discovery. Hello to my LinkedIn family and everyone in the Ikigai study group. It's been a while. For the past 2 months, I've been engaged in leadership training. Well, that might be a bit misleading. To be precise, I've been helping translate leadership training materials. I wasn't asked to do this, I volunteered. Why, you ask? Because it aligned with the direction of my ikigai-kan. So I've been learning about various leadership theories and concepts. Through that process, I made some discoveries and had some insights, which I'd like to share with you. If you are someone exploring ikigai, interested in leadership training, or already found lifelong learning to be your ikigai, I hope you'll stick with me until the end. Discovery number one. Generative AI is like a super knowledgeable 10-year-old prodigy or a fifth grade genius. For those of you in the translation industry, you're fully aware that technology and AI has advanced to the point where everyone can produce decent quality translated content. Some may worry that this could lead to translators losing their jobs. However, I believe this depends on the content being translated. Specifically, when it comes to translating leadership training materials, AI translations, especially when translating from English to Japanese, are still not at the level where they can be presented to clients without quality checks. I developed a process where I use ChatGPT, whom I've affectionately named Sam, to translate English text, but even with various prompts, the Japanese it produces is still not quite natural on the first try. Moreover, when translating captions for videos, they need to be synced to the length of the footage. There may be technology capable of handling everything with AI, but offering such a solution at a general use price is probably not real today. So, over the past few months, I've been collaborating with Sam, my fifth grade genius AI assistant. I've noticed a few things that I'd like to share. First, Sam loves long sentences. The longer and more continuous the text, the better the quality of the translation. This may be the same for human translators. Long sentences include more of the context behind what's being expressed, which allows for translations that take the overall context into account. On the other hand, when sentences are short and choppy, the quality of the translation drops dramatically. You might be wondering, are there really, such a text exist, or why don't you put longer sentences together, then give it to the AI? Well, there are captions for videos. Captions are written like movie lines in short sentences, then alternating with the timing control codes. This affects the way the AI processes the text, and the translation quality drops compared to longer sentences. Have you ever tried using the auto translate feature when watching English or Japanese videos on YouTube? That's the current level of video subtitle translation that AI, or call it SAM, can handle on its own. Try it out when you have the time. Another discovery is that Sam struggles with repeating instructions perfectly. This surprised me. Regular programs repeat defined actions over and over, and nothing more or less, right? Well, however, since Sam has learning capabilities, he tends to add what he thinks might be helpful. Even though I repeatedly prompt him with don't change the timing codes, he still changes the timing, as new codes or deletes existing ones. And when I check the results, he'll innocently say, I didn't change the timing. It's like working with a fifth grade genius, perhaps with ADHD. He either forgets the instructions he was just given or ignores them because he wants to try something new. The struggle with Sam continues today. Discovery number two: switching between English and Japanese naturally leads to multifaceted thinking. Thanks to the translation work I've been doing with leadership materials, I've developed a habit of thinking and learning in both English and Japanese simultaneously. Through this, I realized that I naturally started to think in a more multifaceted way. Now, you're probably thinking, multifaceted thinking? What's that? Multifaceted thinking refers to considering an issue or situation from various angles without being limited to a single perspective and thinking from different viewpoints. Why is this type of thinking important? What's the benefit? It enhances problem solving ability, fosters creativity, and improves communication. Essentially, when you consider things from multiple perspectives, you can communicate with more potential solutions and fresh ideas while respecting others' viewpoints. Why does switching between English and Japanese lead to multifaceted thinking? Let's dig a little deeper. If you received compulsory education in Japan, you likely studied English. Were you ever made to think about both languages simultaneously in class? This is a pen. これはペンです。Is this your pen? これはあなたのペンですか? Something like that. If you're learning Japanese as a second language, then I need you to think about this in reverse, right? So you know English and you're learning Japanese. Looking back now, a conversation like, this is a pen. Is this a pen? Is such a strange, silly conversation. But it was on the textbook. So growing up, I didn't question it. We just thought, okay, this is translated as kore. Pen is, oh, pen, that's an easy word. And is a form of the verb to be. So it translates as desu. That was the extent of my thinking. Today, with machine translation and AI assistance, we no longer need to translate word for word in our heads. Japan's methods of teaching English have already been proven that doing so doesn't lead to conversational fluency. So the method I propose, alternating between English and Japanese, doesn't involve translating yourself, but using AI translation tools to constantly think, read, and listen in both languages. Here's an example. I'll say the same thing in both Japanese and in English. So please listen carefully. 言葉にされていないことに積極的に耳を傾けるということは、相手の表情、ジェスチャー、声のトーンに注意を払うことを意味します。相手の言葉がボディーランゲージと一致しているか常に注意し、言葉と非言語的なサインが異なる場合は質問をしましょう。Actively listening to what is unspoken means paying attention to the other person's facial expressions, gestures, and tone of voice. Always pay attention to whether the other person's words match their body language and ask questions when the verbal and nonverbal cues are different. Did you catch any words in Japanese? I talked about active listening, but I didn't use the term active listening in Japanese, right? Meanwhile, you probably noticed that terms like gesture and body language are shared across both languages. Now, these kinds of aha moments are essential. I mentioned earlier that AI likes long sentences and produces better quality translations as a result. But humans, with brains superior to AI, are the same. In this example, we could translate active listening as 積極的に耳を傾ける, while terms like gesture and body language can be used in both English and Japanese conversations. By recognizing these connections, you can simultaneously strengthen your vocabulary in both languages, leading to multifaceted thinking. Discovery number three, the connections between leadership and ikigai. It wouldn't be a musing of an ikigai scholar if I didn't talk about ikigai, right? Finally, I want to share with you the connection between leadership and ikigai that I discovered after studying various leadership theories and concepts while engaging in multifaceted thinking using both English and Japanese. Taking the hints from the features of ikigai, as described by Dr. Miyako Kamiya, I would like to call these the characteristics of leadership. First, leadership, like ikigai, is not necessarily tied to practical gains or benefits. In Japan, where collectivism is strong, leadership is often seen as something that belongs to those at the top of an organization, accompanied by power. However, leadership can also be demonstrated in volunteer activities and other forms of service work. Especially in crisis situations, leaders with different skills must cooperate to resolve a situation quickly, regardless of authority or power. Second, leadership has spontaneity. It's driven by, I want to do this. You might say, well, of course, but I worked under leaders who lacked spontaneity. These individuals held leadership roles by title, but lacked self leadership and autonomy. They were essentially messengers who passed on instructions from higher ups. As the population continues to decline with the aging society, what will happen? As fewer people work, there will be a push to eliminate such redundant leaders. I hope to see that change. Third, leadership is personal. You can't demonstrate leadership with something borrowed. While leadership is rooted in spontaneity and autonomy, how one translates that into positive influence is unique to each person. That's why there are so many different leadership styles: the traditional transactional style, the transformational style that leads change with a vision, and lateral leadership, where one influences without holding formal power. Each of these styles can be adapted and practiced to develop your own leadership approach. Does that sound exciting? Number four, a leadership style aligns with an individual values. Leadership can be fostered in challenging environments, but that alone doesn't create a style that fits you. Have you ever seen someone who seems to be pretending when exercising leadership? Someone who usually mild and kind, but becomes a completely different person when they assume a leadership position. Such individuals haven't yet fully adapted their style. They may have read leadership books and are following the theory exactly, but that only takes them farther away from their own values. And those around them can sense this. And it's not a good situation. When your leadership style aligns with your values and adapts well to your environment, you can demonstrate extraordinary leadership. This is similar to how Ikigai creates a mental space where the person can live freely and fully. One more thing that Ikigai and leadership have in common: sometimes both Ikigai and leadership are lost. But beyond that sense of loss, you can rediscover your Ikigai and demonstrate leadership again. I'm currently planning a training program to support those who wish to gain or regain their leadership in Ikigai. I'll introduce it through another musing pretty soon. So, how was it? I've shared my discoveries from the past few months. Did they spark any discoveries of your own? Instead of always studying on your own, why not share what you're learning with others? That, too, could be part of ikigai, the joy of learning and discovery. That's it for this episode of the Musings of an Ikigai Scholar. Thank you for sticking with me until the end.